Chapter 309. The Enslaved Bride, Part 6. The fighting between Hajrodwan's men and Malwal and Olivia continued throughout the night. By daybreak Hajrodwan had lost half of his 50 men. The Haj understood that if he continued to fight he would lose all his men and his life too. Consequently, he decided to withdraw to his temporary camp, which was located 3 hours horse ride away. In order to make a safe escape, Hajrodwan ordered 15 of his men to continue firing and 10 men to follow behind his horse. His plan worked perfectly and he made a safe passage. Olivia understood the plan and wanted to inform Malwal. She ceased firing and began to creep on her knees towards her friend. Malwal thought that his girlfriend was wounded and hence he stopped shooting and began to hurry to her rescue. During this short ceasefire the other 15 men jumped on their horses and made their escape too. "They are escaping," shouted Olivia when she saw the horse riders fleeing from the battlefield. Malwal ran to a nearby horse and jumped on its back and pursued the fleeing Janjaweed. Olivia also mounted another horse and followed Malwal. While the Janjaweed were leaving the village, Malwal managed to gun down 3 of them. Olivia shot down another 2. One of the Janjaweed fell off when Oliva shot his horse. Oliva was about to kill him if Malwa did not stop her. "We need him alive to guide us to the others," screamed Malwal. The man threw his gun and surrendered himself to Malwal and Olivia. When they took him back to the village the chief wanted him to be killed, but the 2 friends requested him to spare his life. It was an old custom in the south that when a Janjaweed or a government soldier was captured he would be killed in a very painful way. His skin would be peeled off while he was still alive. Then, his skin would be used as an umbrella to protect the chief from the sun's rays. The chief wanted to revive that custom if the 2 friends hadn't begged him to spare his life because they wanted him to lead them to the town where Malwal's bride was taken. The chief was very much pleased with Malwal and Olivia's bravery and therefore granted their request. Before the chief could change his mind, the 2 friends decided to resume their trip to the western region of Sudan. They took enough food, water, and ammunition, and rode on 3 horses. The captured man was chained and forced to show the way. Before they left the village, they were able to find out from him what had happened to Ayan and the other girls. The man confessed that his leader raided the Dinka villages regularly and always he killed the men, women, and children and spared the young girls. Those girls he sold as slaves to people in Darfur and Kordofan provinces. Malwal and Oliva also came to know from him what had happened to Ayan and the other girls. He told them about their encounter with the Hambati Wadmira. The man was one of those who escaped the brutal assault of Wadmira. He did not know what had happened to Ayan and the other girls after Wadmira took them away. He warned Malwal and Olivia about the danger of the Hambati man. "Even Satan fears that dangerous man," said the captured man. The fear in his eyes revealed to the friends how dangerous the Hambati man really was. "He can shoot a fly a mile away. He never misses his target. If you want to reach El Fasher alive, you had better avoid that dangerous man. We should follow the rough road and avoid the highway. Wadmira attacks the caravans which travel by the main road," continued the man. "We are not going to the north for sightseeing," said Malwal with clenched teeth, "we are looking for that wicked man who took our girls and cattle from Hajrodwan. I will show you where to find Wadmira, but please do not involve me in the fight. I have no weapon and I am in chains." The man held out his bound hands. "You are such a coward man," snapped Olivia, "you can kill old people and children and rape women but cannot fight a man like Mira. If that wicked man shoots us you will be his first victim." "I am not a coward." Something fierce and proud glimmered in the captured man's eyes. "I am a son of Arabs, but circumstances caused me to be rebuked by Jamel like you." Those improper words led Olivia to assault him and spit on his face. She was about to kill him had Malwal not restrained her. "Cool down honey," said Malwal, holding his furious girlfriend by the waist. Jamel is an insult for the woman which means the one who has a vagina. Jamel means a camel, but here the word is used to refer to Olivia's vagina. In a hadith the Prophet Muhammad said, "The woman like a donkey, a horse, and a camel because all are meant to be climbed on." Malwal, Olivia, and their Arab guide reached the outskirts of El Fasher city after 6 days of travel. According to the guide, the Hambati Wadmira and his men might attack them at any moment before they entered the city. Malwal and Olivia decided to split up so that the Hambata might not assault them both at the same time. Through the guide's words they understood that Wadmira was a professional killer. They were not likely to beat him in open combat. They planned to ambush the dangerous man and his gang and force them to surrender. Olivia would act as a hook to draw the attention of Wadmira. She would continue to ride her horse with the Arab man, whereas Malwal would follow them from the rear. When Wadmira's gang attacked Olivia and the Arab man, Malwal would surprise them and order them to surrender. The two friends decided to take such risk because they wanted the Hambati man alive so that he would show them where he took Ayan and the other girls. The Arab man did not like the plan, because he was scared that Wadmira might kill him before he captured Olivia. Nevertheless, the two friends forced their plan on him and made him ride in front of Olivia's horse. Wadmira could smell his prey from a mile away, like a tiger in the jungle. From a distance he spotted Olivia and the Arab man. He concluded that Olivia was a slave girl stolen from the Dinka villages. He waited patiently until his prey came close enough for his assault. It was still hot and bright when Olivia saw 3 men on camels riding at full speed towards them. She had never seen a real camel before. The 3 men looked as if they were riding on moving mountains. She wondered if she would ever agree to sit on such a huge brute one day. Olivia was not able to guess which of the 3 was Wadmira because all of them had fully veiled faces. Their guns were in their hands, pointing towards them. Olivia's heart nearly jumped out of her mouth when she heard the gunfire. Before she could overcome her terror, she felt her body flying through air. She thought she had been hit by the bullets, but when she landed on the hot sand, she knew it was her horse that had been shot by the Hambata. She also saw the Arab man had fallen flat on the sand. Olivia managed to get to her feet quickly when she saw one of the camel's riders approaching. The person passed her, and rode towards the Arab man. She heard a sound like thunder and looked up at the sky to see if storm had arrived. The screaming of the Arab man caused her to redirect her attention his way. The camel rider was scourging the Arab man with a very long whip. The Arab man ran back and forth, trying in vain to avoid the strikes hammering his body. With every strike, his clothes were torn and his flesh was opened. Olivia could not watch any more as the blood covered his face and body. The whipping continued until the Arab man fell to the ground. Both Olivia and the perpetrator waited for the fallen body to move, but it did not stir. The rider rode his camel and made it sit on the body of the Arab man. Olivia closed her eyes when she saw the body of the fallen man being crushed underneath a huge brute. Tears ran down her face. Would she also be killed in such a brutal way? Olivia covered her face with her hands to hide her tears. Suddenly she heard a sound from the camel like the cry of an angry elephant. She stopped crying and uncovered her face in time to see the man who assaulted the Arab walking towards her. In his left hand he carried an automatic machine gun. She had never seen its type before. In his right hand he held the long whip. When he drew near her, Olivia began to shake and tremble like a reed. The huge man unveiled his face and looked at Olivia as a hungry beast would. His eyes were red. Devilish sparks flew out of them. His head was as big as large watermelon. Olivia had never seen such a gigantic man before. She wondered how the camel could carry such a heavy weight without breaking its back. "Please do not kill me," pleaded Olivia for her life as the huge man's shadow blocked the sun. Wadmira never killed Jamel before. His voice was loud. Only with men he fights and prevails. Olivia shuddered. What had happened to Malwal? Why did he delay his coming? "What is the name of your tribe?" roared Wadmira. Olivia cleared her parched throat and whispered, "Azanda." The giant squinted, a leering grin on his face. "The Azanda people certainly have beautiful girls." While he was uttering those lustful words, his hand reached out to her chest and grabbed the golden cross hanging between her two spear-like breasts. She knew the beast wanted to rape her. At that critical moment, Olivia heard the sound of a gun discharging deafening bullets. She drew in a sobbing breath and gasped, "Malwal." Wadmira swiftly pulled Olivia down with him and fell flat on his face. His eyes, like those of a cornered cobra, surveyed the area. His 2 men were shot by the bullets and had fallen off their camels' backs. From the angle of their fall, he was able to locate the direction from which the bullets had been shot. He used his hands and legs to kick up the sand. In a fraction of a second, he created enough dust to hide him and Olivia from the eyes of the shooter. Malwal hesitated to fire at the dust, fearing that he might kill his girlfriend instead of the evil man. He expected that Olivia might pull out her revolver and force the Hambati man to surrender. Then the dust cleared. Still under cover, Malwal saw Wadmira riding on his camel as fast as the wind. He saw Olivia too, on the camel's back. Malwal could not tell whether his girlfriend was alive, unconscious, or dead. Wadmira was using her body as a human shield to protect himself from the shooter's bullets. He had pulled her onto his lap, surrounding her with his left hand, which also held the camel's rope. Wadmira was riding his camel backwards. His left hand was firing and at the same time holding the camel rope. His right hand held his automatic machine gun, which was showering Malwal's hiding place with many bullets. Malwal couldn't believe his eyes. There was nothing for him to do but to ride out the volley of bullets. He could not venture out of his cover until the rat-a-tat of the machine gun ceased. When Malwal finally crept out of his hiding place, the first idea that entered his mind was to ride on one of the 2 camels and chase the escaping camel. His mind dismissed the idea when he realized that he had no idea how to make the camel kneel down. He would have to run back to his horse, which he had left a kilometer away. By the time he reached his horse and began to ride back, the fleeing camel had vanished from the horizon. Malwal rode in different directions before he gave up. He jumped off his horse's back, fell on his knees and began to pull out his hair and hit his chest. That day he wept for his girlfriend Olivia more than he had wept for his bride, Ayan. In that lonely desert, Malwal continued to weep for his kidnapped friend for a very long time. He blamed himself for gambling with the precious soul of his companion. He condemned himself for reaching the place where Olivia encountered the evil men too late. Why had he agreed to allow her to ride in front of him? Why hadn't he taken the lead and asked her to follow from the rear? Why had he crept from the place where he left his horse to the place where the Hambata assaulted Olivia? Those questions and many more continued to bother Malwal's troubled conscience. He held himself responsible for what had happened to Olivia. He never knew how much he loved her until he lost her. In less than 1 year she had become everything to him. Therefore, he determined to dig the earth and bring her back to life. Malwal was left with no choice except to continue his journey to El Fasher city. He travelled the whole night and half of the next day before he entered the city. It was the most lonely and sad time in his entire life. For the first time, he felt the emptiness Olivia caused in his heart by her absence. It was as if he had never fallen in love with a girl before he met her. He loved Olivia for her beauty, courage, and readiness to lay down her life for those she loved. She had never wavered in her love, even though she knew Malwal might leave her when he found his missing bride. She had not the eventual loss of her love, but only wanted her lover to get what he had lost. His tears were his constant companion on the lonely journey, especially when he imagined what the evil man might do to her. Before he entered the city, Malwal got rid of his horse. He knew that the police might accuse him of killing someone and stealing his horse. Besides that, he might be arrested for carrying gun inside the city. He hid his gun before he made his entry into the city. But, he did keep one revolver hidden inside his clothes. He had some cash with him. First, he must look for a place to rent. He saw a man from the south of Sudan and approached him. The man was crippled and looked to be in his late 50s. "Salam, uncle," said Mawul in Arabic language. "Salam, young man," replied the man, grinning when he heard Mawul speaking his language. "I am a stranger, and I am looking for a place to rent." Mawul kept walking as he talked. The Dinka man turned and inspected Mawul from head to toe. "You are looking for a lokonda?" Mawul nodded and said, "How much do they charge per night?" The man smiled again and responded, "I am working in the lokonda. I will tell the owner to charge you a reasonable price. Come with me, young man." He limped a little faster. Mawul had to slow stride to accommodate the crippled man's pace. The man continued the conversation with enthusiasm. "Why have you come to this small city? Why haven't you gone to Khartoum? Khartoum is a big city and with many opportunities for young men like you." He waved his gnarled hand in the air like a baton. "If you do not want to work in Khartoum, you can find a young woman to work for you." He laughed, leaned in close to Mawul, winked suggestively and whispered, "You just have to fulfill your duty at night." Mawul was annoyed by the crippled man's advice. He saw how the man degraded the love of a woman for a man. He remembered his love for Olivia and her great sacrifice for him. How could someone think that every woman just wanted sex from the man? He had not slept with Olivia, but her love for him surpassed any physical relationship. She demanded nothing except to stand by his side until he found his missing bride. Mawul thought of telling the crippled man about his relationship with Olivia but hesitated. The man might not believe him. Mawul said, "I have come to this city to look for my two sisters who were kidnapped by the Janjaweed." The man stopped in his tracks and pulled Mawul toward him. He glanced in all directions before he whispered in Mawul's ear. "Yes, the Arabs go every year to Bahr al-Ghazal and steal our girls and cattle. They bring them to this place to sell the cattle and force our girls to work in their houses and fields without paying them." He wrinkled his nose and spit on the ground in disgust. "This evil practice is very soon going to be a thing of the past. What happened recently in this place made good people like me turn the city upside down." Mawul raised his eyebrows, but when he opened his mouth to respond the old man waved his hand impatiently and continued. "Yes, we destroyed half of this city because of the incident. Imagine, my good son, the government of Khartoum denies slavery in Sudan and yet a great mu'allana and imam of the Grand Mosque impregnated one of our Dinka girls without marrying her. When they brought him to court, he said, 'She is my Jariya.'" The old man stuck out his chest and lowered his voice, imitating mu'allana. Mawul frowned, confused. "What is Jariya?" The crippled man's eyes widened. He stared at Mawul with his mouth open. "You do not understand Arabic." He shook his head, making a clicking noise with his mouth. "Jariya means slave girl." And what the court did to him, Mawul leaned in closer, trying to hear more clearly. The southerner crossed his arms before answering, "Nothing." Mawul couldn't believe his ears. "So the court sanctions slavery in this city." He spoke with conviction, a little louder than he intended. The old man held up his hand and stepped back. "No way. As long as there are good people like me and you, the court cannot sanction slavery." Mawul pointed at the crippled man and said, "Then good people like you forced mu'allana to release the Dinka girl." At this the old man hung his head. He answered in a soft voice. "Not yet. The girl is still in mu'allana's house." His face brightened, and he continued, "Sooner or later the court will force mu'allana to release the girl. The mayor of this city is a good man like you and me. He promised to bring mu'allana before the criminal court very soon." A thought struck Mawul. By the way, what is the name of that girl? The old man was silent for a moment, his brow furrowed in thought. Then he remembered, Ikhlas. How old is she? Malwal asked more out of politeness than interest. Old Black Eyes examined Malwal's face, then the old man answered, she is not less than your age, my son. How long has she been living in Mualana's house? Malwal was more curious now. Someone his age being a slave, it was hard to believe. The old man shrugged. I heard some people saying about 10 years. Imagine, my son, one of our Dinka girls living for 10 years under slavery and abuse. How much she must have suffered in that house. Have you ever seen her, uncle? Malwal was tired, both from the sadness of the story and the terrible exhaustion of the day's events. How much farther could the Lokonda be? No one has ever seen her, my son, except for the neighbors. The old man shook his head in time with his limping steps. She is probably in chains most of the time. Malwal stopped, shocked. In chains. The old man's eyes filled, and he sniffed, wiping his nose on his sleeve. Yes, in chains, my son. That is what the Arabs used to do to our people in the past. They used to chain and beat them every day and every night. I don't imagine much has changed. This was nearly too much for Malwal. The last information brought tears to his eyes. He imagined his beloved Olivia and his missing bride Ian both in chains. The tears blurred his vision so badly that he nearly bumped into the old man a few moments later, when he stopped right in front of him. The old man patted Malwal's arm in a gesture of comfort. He pointed at a low door nearby and said, Here we are, my son. The Lokonda.